Hello, my name is Christina O'Grady. I am finishing my fourth year of teaching science. My personal teaching philosophy embraces using evidence-based teaching strategies to provide my students with an individualized path to success. I like to include technology in my classroom. This kind of piques their interest as well as it helps to develop that interest in science. Some of the technology that I've included in my classroom are different YouTube videos because they can really work with the material in a way that I'm not able to on my current platform. I also do a lot of simulations so that students, as all of my students are virtual, they're able to do labs that they would be doing in person, hands on, but in a virtual platform. So they still have that experience. I also am very reflective as a teacher. I like to look over what lessons work, what lessons don't work, and I really evaluate this by looking at the either lesson quiz or the unit test and looking at the questions that the majority of my students got wrong. And then I go back over them and I try to create content for them that will reintroduce that concept just to make sure that they have a clear understanding when they leave my class. I found that this has been really helpful and it helps me to identify maybe areas within the content that I was not clear in my instructions or that maybe a majority of students struggle with. So it helps me as I look forward to the next time I teach the class as well as the class that I'm currently teaching. I also like to embrace personal responsibility, which is something that I am really trying to incorporate with my students, and just have them take control of their learning and the fact that if they have an assignment that's overdue, that's on them to really work towards and make sure that they're keeping on track with their course. I do reach out to them. I give them all the support that they need, but it really is on them, especially as juniors and seniors. So the unit I designed is for high school chemistry students that are typically in my class, they're juniors or seniors. I have had some sophomores take the class, but these are really advanced students. And it's typically your junior level is when you will be taking chemistry with me. The unit explores the atom and the periodic table. It starts with a history of the atom and how scientists have changed that model over time. And then it ends with the students developing their own model of the trends within the periodic table. I think it's very important to introduce students to the idea that science is constantly changing. As we get new evidence, we're going to develop new models. And it's a really cool aspect that you have in science where making mistakes are okay. And I love to have students learn that right at the beginning and embrace that as we move through science. This unit addresses several of our physical science standards around atoms, the periodic table, and using models. Students have two opportunities throughout this unit to create their own models. One is in that lesson 1 where we're really talking about different models of the atom. And since we still have not seen the atom, I encourage students to come up with their own model. And then at the end, as like their assessment for the whole unit, they will be creating a model of the trends within the periodic table. So students are able to access the unit through the online learning management system. Students can have access to all of the information from the live class sessions. So at my school, I record all of my live class sessions, and then they have access to that on their end within their learning management system. Each lesson has a similar feel, from the bell ringer to the review activity to a video to a brain break, PowerPoint, which is like the content part of it, and then the assessment. There is some variation within lessons. As we know, sometimes the content is a little bit different per topic. And each lesson is introduced as well and gives them their learning objectives as well as the standards associated with that lesson. This consistency allows the student and the teacher to know what to expect with each lesson. And then students and teachers are able to interact with one another through the use of discussion boards. This is incredibly helpful for students who may be taking the course asynchronously. They're still able to connect with their synchronous peers through these discussion boards. So even if they're not seeing them in a live class session, they can still communicate with them through the discussion boards. My opinion of this particular learning management system is that it's limited in its capabilities. And it's the way that they lay out modules is not necessarily visually how I like to see things. But it's different for everybody and it works for what I needed it to. I would like to see where it has the lesson and then there's this indent. I would like to see being able to like collapse something so it has a much cleaner look. The only thing that we can collapse is the module. And I would like to be able to like collapse everything underneath the lesson one heading. That's just me. I find that a little bit cleaner. The options available for creating content were a little bit limited as well. And the way that the features for creating quizzes was a little bit confusing, but overall it had the necessary elements, but there was nothing overly innovative about them. It didn't allow for like moving parts and those type of things that I would have liked to see a little bit more of. But overall, it definitely was adequate for what I needed to create this unit. So now I'm going to go through some of my lesson components that I thought were really good. The first one is this lesson one brain break, which let me switch to student view so that we can see this as a student would. So if we go to this lesson one brain break, it just is a fun video. I like these. I like to incorporate these, especially if we're talking about a 90-minute class session. Our students get a little bit antsy during that time. So these brain breaks that I have incorporated into the lessons is just a fun YouTube video that has a would you rather game and then or a fitness movement game to get them up out of their seats and moving. So they would click on this and then you would click here for the link to take you to the YouTube video, which we're not going to watch that one. But so I really like incorporating brain breaks into lessons. So it kind of lets the students percolate on the information that they've learned thus far. And I usually put them after the content part. The other thing that I really like with lesson one is the assessment option. So I like to give students choice because not every student can, or their preferred method of showing you what they know may not be a quiz, and that's okay. So for this particular lesson, I gave them the choice of they can either do a quiz or they can do an assessment, so like an assignment. Or for those really motivated students who like to get as many points as possible, they could do both and earn bonus points. So I did put that in the description for both of them to allow them to know that they have that choice. Another one that I had was each lesson has a bell ringer. So for lesson 7, our bell ringer is a discussion prompt. I've uploaded the rubric here as well as I have attached it to the discussion post. So when I'm grading it, I'll be able to grade off of the rubric. This rubric is one that I've created over the summer. I've used it all year long for all of my discussion posts within my classes. So that is for students. And then we also have the content for lesson 1. So if you click on lesson 7 content, this is a PowerPoint. This is a PowerPoint that I will be using in my live class sessions. So if the student wanted to watch those recordings, they could go to our recordings and watch them, or they can just go through the PowerPoint themselves and it has all of the same information. and it opens right up in the screen for them, which is kind of a nice feature. They can either scroll down or they can go with the arrows at the top. The last element that I want to touch on is this lesson 15 assessment. This is where they get to create their own model of the ionization energy of elements within a section of the periodic table. They can upload their file right here. I have it as either a media recording, so they can take a video of their 3D model, or a picture and then upload the picture. All of their instructions for how to complete this is found here in their lesson 15 lab instructions. Again, it's a PowerPoint. And I also have linked it right to the assessment folder so that they know that once they've completed this, just click on this and it will take it right to their assessment folder for them, and they can just upload it here. So some of my key takeaways for this project and for this module is that students are able to pursue this course in a way that benefits them. It's set up for them to be able to take it synchronously or asynchronously. They're able to interact with each other no matter which way they've chosen to do the course. And there are supports along the way for each student to be successful. As you notice in the lesson introductions, I mentioned if you have questions or you need help, reach out. And then I also have a welcome page that says that same thing. If you need help, don't know what to do next, reach out. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to guide you and to help teach you this material. Although I find the learning management system not as versatile as others I've worked with, it is adequate to provide those individualized work for students. And that is my overview of the course and unit that I have created.